In the alley, you never know when or exactly where I, the destroyer, will strike. I respect no one, people, animals, houses, or possessions. Hear me roar as I approach. Dark clouds and sky announce my coming. Witness my violence. Trees fall, glass shatters, puny man-made cars flip over, roofs are ripped off, light poles are bent. There is no stopping me. A storm is coming, Mitzi. I can feel it in my old bones, Gladys Moore said to her cat that morning. Better turn on the news to see if the weather people know anything. Gladys had lived in Grand Island, Nebraska all her life. No stranger to storms, she knew what to do and had ridden out several during her lifetime with only major yard cleanup. She wasn't that worried. She had a cellar. But she hadn't met an F5 yet. Mitzi vigorously licked her ears. Inside the canal, pressure was building. Far away in the distance, her sensitive hearing picked up a rumble of thunder. She raced around the kitchen, her fur standing on end and her tail puffed out. If her person knew what was good for her, she would slide underneath the bed soon. Well, that is, if she would fit. Rusty Booman heard the news. Same county, same general vicinity. A twister is headed our way. Rusty yelled at his brother, Charlie. Clothes and shoes were jammed on. A camera was slung around Rusty's neck. The back screen door slammed. Charlie gunned the Chevy farm truck as dust and gravel flew up behind them on the road. Rusty switched the radio on and listened to the newscaster. "Turn toward Alda," he said to Charlie. Just then, his phone began flashing. "This is the emergency warning system. Prepare for tornado near Alda and Grand Island." Charlie peered up through the truck window at the sky, where greenish-gray clouds amassed. A stiff wind whistled through gaps in the insulation around the truck's doors. Suddenly, the gale held its breath. The eerie silence momentarily chilled the simmering excitement of the young men. Charlie pulled to the road's shoulder. "This is it, Russ. Get the camera ready. Our names will be all over TV when we get a close-up picture of the funnel coming down. They will say something like, 'Young storm chasers capture tornado touchdown,' and we'll be famous." They jumped out of the truck, and Rusty adjusted his camera's f-stops. Later, what was actually said was, "Young storm chasers killed near Alda." Their pickup truck lay in the ditch next to the road. Who knows what happened to the camera and the pictures? They were never found. "Foolish young men," says the destroyer. "But there is no law that says that people can't be idiots. They got a warning. Even looking at the signs in the sky should have told them I was imminent. No remorse on my part." As soon as Gladys saw the darkening expanse above her house, She put on her sturdy shoes and hung a whistle on a chain around her neck. She called her neighbor, Torrance Fielding. "You headed for shelter?" she asked. "Need anything?" "Yep, going down to keep the spiders in the basement company. Got everything I need. You?" "I'm fine. Just got to sit it out." Her tornado safety list was checked. Food, warm clothing and blankets, a flashlight, first aid kit, her meds, and water. She put Mitzi in her carrier with a soft cloth on the bottom. After several trips downstairs with supplies and her beloved cat, she closed the basement door behind her. A transistor radio would give her news. She put on her bicycle helmet, lest something hit her in the head, well away from the small windows. Gladys planted herself in a chair with Mitzi on her lap. Mitzi hated being confined and restless. She squirmed and meowed. Outside, the wind rose and shrieked and howled like a possessed animal while they waited and waited. Fear shivered down Gladys's spine. Then a silent lull, somehow more frightening, like the storm was gathering strength for its next onslaught. The house began to shake. Hail rattled down outside like bullets. She covered her head and Mitzi with a blanket. Slam, bang. They could hear wood splintering, objects falling and crashing to the floor above them. Paint cans plunged from the basement shelves, and some ruptured, spattering the cement with color. A suffocating pressure bore down on Gladys's chest. Rising dust made her cough. Her heart pounded, and her breath came in gasps. Panicked, she yanked the covering off herself. Bright flashes of light could be seen through the shattered window panes as the tornado passed over them. Debris from outside whooshed in through the broken windows. Mitzi attempted to claw her way out of her prison, but Gladys held her fast. Had hours passed? Again, an ominous hush after the storm had passed over them. But Gladys sat still for minutes, squeezing the carrier against her shaking body. Mitzi let loose a yowl. "We're safe, sweetie." "We made it." Slowly, Gladys stood. Her shoes crunched over broken glass, blown clear across the floor. Avoiding the paint puddles, she grasped the handrail with one hand and climbed the stairs to the door leading back into her house. It would not open. She jiggled the handle. Nothing. She set Mitzi down on the stairs and pushed her weight against it. Wouldn't budge. No way could she crawl out those dinky basement windows. Anyway, she'd be cut to pieces. Wasn't there a hammer down here somewhere? Yep, it had fallen from its perch on the pegboard. My strength isn't what it used to be. These doors were made solid. Not such a great thing right now. She kept hammering without much result. Sweat rolled down her face. She should be glad she'd survived. But now being trapped was scary too. Mitzi wasn't helping. Her plaintive cries grated in Gladys's ears and made her more on edge. She set her weapon down and rubbed her forehead. To her surprise, her fingers came away bloody. When had she got injured? Now it hurt. But when she looked down, her eyes rested on her whistle. She blew with all her might, while Mitzi flattened her ears. Hours later, when Torrance was able to exit his own house, which had been flattened by the big oak in his yard, he hurried to Gladys and heard her now faint whistle. He shook his head in wonder. One wall with a door stood. Otherwise, her house was a pile of rubble. "I hear you, Gladys," he shouted. "I'm going to get you out." The destroyer laughed as he barreled down the countryside, wreaking devastation as he went. Even the people like Gladys, who planned ahead, aren't completely safe from me. I demolished her house. She's homeless now. But like others, she might rebuild. Spawned by a thunderstorm, I'll gather strength again soon and plunder this same area. Crazy people. There's a reason why they call it Tornado Alley, a price to pay. I should have known better. As cliché as it sounds, nothing in life is ever free. It all started with my dream trip. We were bouncing down the streets in the French Quarter to the tune of live horns blaring and drums pounding, forcing this mystical string of rhythm that shivered up from my toes to my hips. I had over-elaborated in mixed spirits with colors of red, orange, and green, doused in crushed ice. I had saved up an entire year for 3 whole days of fun, the ultimate girl trip. Now here I was, trapped in this padded room, all by my lonesome. It's better this way for everyone, at least in my opinion. Now back to how I got here. I digress. I promise it will make sense later on. Anyways, we were partying with all the other thrill seekers. The weather was perfect. I mean, it was hot, but that's what you want in July in New Orleans. Hot, humid, and rainless. Everybody was spreading Southern love. Gold, silver, purple, and green beaded necklaces rained down like candy from a kid's pinata. It didn't matter if you raised your top or not. The love for tourists was overflowing. The street vendors were making their rounds as well, so quick and elegant, with the words that rolled off their tongue. It was like they were singing you a nighttime lullaby, weaving a spell of sweet nothings and joy. Little did I know, that is exactly what they were doing. I have never thought of myself as an overly superstitious person. I say overly because I did avoid having my feet swept and never opened an umbrella in a building or house. Outside of that, a black cat was just a black cat. I didn't believe in witches, shamans, witch doctors, or black magic. I understood the undertones of voodooism in the bayous of Louisiana. I took a mythology class during my undergraduate studies. I even did a research paper on it. I knew a good story when I heard one. And that is exactly what they were. Stories. I digress. My attention was drawn to a street vendor that had his face painted in gold. He had on a jester hat decorated in colors of purple and silver. He had on a purple blazer with purple dress pants to match. His feet were nestled into pointed green boots trimmed with white. He had multiple beaded necklaces going down his left arm and was shooting confetti out of a wooden pipe that resembled some type of flute or oboe. I made my way closer to capture a video. The vibes from that one was something magical. It was 90 degrees, and he wasn't sweating. That should have been my first clue. Something was off. People were passing by, pointing and laughing. I got closer, but still was far enough away that I looked as if I was just a part of the crowd celebrating on Bourbon Street. He placed the pipe down on a little box as an elderly couple stopped to admire his painted face and outfit. He tried to hand the woman the necklaces on his arm, and her husband, I assume, shook his head no. The guy was like 6 feet tall, but did the daintiest curtsy I had ever seen, and I couldn't contain my giggle. Neither could the couple, and the man accepted the beads. When the couple tried to give the beads back to the court jester, he shook his head no and put his hands up to signal 20 yards. The husband tried to give them back again. The jester took 3 of the beaded necklaces back and then put up one hand to now signal pass as the total. His wife laughed beside him. I mean, I get the humor. What better place to get swindled than the streets of New Orleans, baby? Memories to keep for a lifetime. He gave the hustler the money, and then they bounced down the street. I had recorded the entire scene on my phone, and when I looked up, we had made eye contact. I felt almost locked in his trance. The beginning of my demise. I looked down at the stupid, tarnished rose gold ring with the blue opal stone that was now trapped on my finger. Sorry, there I go again, jumping around the story. Again, we locked eyes. I was more than a little tipsy and had the audacity to wink and giggle. He put his confetti flute back to his mouth and blew in my direction. He wasn't going to hustle me, and that was for sure. I know how it works. The group I was with shifted, and somehow we got closer to him and his show. This time when he blew, confetti made it onto my shirt. He had a cheering audience now. The air smelled of booze, sweat, and cigarette smoke, mingled with hints of too strong cologne here and there. But that did nothing to deter the crowd. He presented a new sleeve of beaded necklaces in multiple colors. The flute pipe went back to the box. People were so drunk that they were totally fine with paying price for necklaces you could get from the nearest dollar store. But not me. They were being thrown from balconies for free. I couldn't hide the skepticism from my eyes. I loved the camaraderie, but no scams will empty my pockets this day. He locked his eyes with mine again, and then moved towards me. This time, he grabbed my hand and twirled me around in a circle to the beat of the live music that was playing in the streets. My cheeks were aching from smiling so hard, but I was not going to fall for his swindle. My friends were cheering me on in the background, happy that I was finally letting my hair down. I was a little dizzy from the alcohol and the spinning. The jester then enclosed my hand in both of his, and when he pulled back, there was a ring on my finger. I don't know how he did it, but I wasn't paying for it. "Take it back!" I screamed over the music and noisy patrons. He shook his head no and put up his hand to indicate $25. I laughed and repeated myself. He changed it to $15. His light brown eyes seemed amused by my defiance to be swayed to part with my hard-earned money for a ring I could have gotten from a bubblegum machine. To be honest, I had already been hustled when I went to the marketplace the day before and paid $75 for an ugly dress because I was sold a dream. He went down to $10, and he almost had me until a lady behind me said that she would buy it for $25. I tried to take it off my finger to give it back, but he stopped me and gave me a huge smile. His teeth were about the prettiest I had ever seen, complementing his gold-painted skin. He really looked like he was out of a painting. He had a broad nose, and he had a set of long lashes that any woman would be jealous of. A handsome fellow, he definitely was. Again, not a bead of sweat, and his skin was flawless. He nodded, and then pressed his lips to the back of my ringed hand before shaking his head at the woman, and spoke. "This here trinket is for the one who doubts the ways of the bayou. She has been chosen," and then gave her a beaded necklace instead. I felt a flush of heat go over my entire body. The accent made it sound so poetic. Everyone continued to cheer him on until all the necklaces were gone. And then that was that. Or so I thought. He turned back to me and winked. As we all dispersed, my party and I made our way down to the end of Bourbon Street. And when it was time to go back up, I tried to take the ring off my finger to give it back, but I couldn't get it off. In theory, the good things, when we came back to his area of business, he was gone. Little did I realize then that he meant what he said when I was chosen. All that was left in his spot was an empty box and pieces of confetti that littered where he once stood. No matter how many times I replayed it in my mind, I still can't figure out the pivotal moment when I chose my fate. Or better yet, my fate was chosen for me. Why me? No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get this stupid ring to come off. At the time, I thought it was all of the salty food and alcohol I consumed on the trip. But when we made it back home, it was still glued to my ring finger. Of all the fingers he could have put it on, it had to be the one that indicated I was taken out of the marital market. Like I said before, I have never been an overly superstitious person. My beliefs are my beliefs. When the first dream hit me, I thought it was just a coincidence. I had a dream that I was drowning. The golden man with the perfect teeth was looking down at me from a black boat, smiling. Instead of beaded necklaces on his arm, he was holding a funeral wreath with a name I recognized on it. The odds, right? Or at least, that is what I thought. Until 3 months later, the person actually passed away in a boating accident. The dreams continued. Vivid nightmares of people I know perishing to the other side. Every dream turned into some kind of forewarning of what was to come. Always him. Always a new funeral wreath. Always the smile. The creep worked some kind of black magic on me when he gave me his ring. I tried telling my friends and family that we were entertained the Grim Reaper himself, and he was punishing me with these visions because I wouldn't fall for his con. Everything has a price, even entertainment. I didn't even know I was giving up anything. I guess I got swindled after all. The group that went with me had no recollection of the gold-painted man with a jester hat on his head. What they did remember is me getting into a rather large argument with a stranger about the origins of voodoo, and screaming that the natives of New Orleans' beliefs are based loosely on fairy tales, and that I apparently offended a lot of people. Even if that was the case, no one could tell me how the ring came to be on my finger. The video that I thought I had recorded when he was hustling the elderly couple had disappeared from my phone. The first professional I saw for the prophetic dreams told me I worked too hard, and maybe I needed to take some time off and stay away from alcohol. They had me complete all these different tests to prove that I was in my right mental state. In the midst of it, no one could get this stupid ring off my finger. By the time I got to the fight professional, I was told that maybe I should just keep my intrusive thoughts to myself. And death was a part of life, and try to live in a normal manner. I see death. I don't want to see it, but I still was able to see it all the same. I was cursed by a New Orleans jester, all because of the difference of opinions. If only I could go back, I would have definitely said no to that first drink and kept a clear head the entire, instead of being doomed to a room of padded walls because everyone thinks I lost my mind. Here I was, safe. But let's go back to the beginning. Thursday night. Rain pattered on the roof of Grandma's house as Christine settled in after Thanksgiving dinner. She sat on the plush carpet and started playing solitaire on the coffee table. Mom was hollering at the football game, but Christine was doing her best to tune that out. Grandma was in the kitchen, finishing the dishes. Dinner itself had been the usual stuff: turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, green beans. It was a nicer, heartier meal than Christine usually ate. Now she was pleasantly full, enjoying her cards and the relative peace and quiet. "Why are the Lions attempting a field goal?" Mom roared, jumping up. She bumped the coffee table and fell back onto the couch. The game went to commercial. Oh, Christine sighed heavily, picking up her fallen cards. "Sorry, kid," her mother said, rubbing her sore knee. "You know how it is." Christine nodded. It was always like this with football and true crime for some reason. She was glad it was only Mom here being noisy instead of the whole family. Grandma stepped into the living room, wiping her hands off on a towel. She hung it on the back of one of the wooden chairs at the little dining table, on the opposite side of the room from Christine and Mom. "I wish you'd let us help you," Mom said. "Dishes would have been done a lot sooner." No, Grandma said. "After being away for so long, I almost missed doing my own dishes. Besides, there weren't that many." "I tried to get the older kids to come," Mom said. The game was back on, so her eyes were on the TV as she spoke. But they had other plans. In-laws, I guess. And you know how Dad is. With this last remark, she gave Christine a joking slap on the shoulder. Christine was glad her father and siblings weren't there. When they all got together, they talked too loud, and it would get too hot, and they would pick on and embarrass her. No, she much preferred this little get-together. "I keep telling you it's fine," Grandma said. She sat on the opposite end of the couch so that Christine was between them. She smiled at Christine. "It's kind of neat that we have 3 generations here." Christine nodded, smiling. "Touchdown!" Mom yelled and jumped up again, narrowly avoiding the coffee table this time. Thud. "Oh, for the love of..." Grandma cut herself off. "What did you knock over this time? I hope you haven't broken anything." "Shh." Mom held a finger to her lips and whispered, "That wasn't me. I think it came from outside." Grandma leaned back on the couch and put her feet up. "Probably just the rain, then." "Right," Mom said. She seemed unsure, but she sat back down and was quickly reabsorbed in the game. Christine hesitated, card in hand. "Grandma," she asked. Her voice always came out softer than she expected. "Are you sure it's nothing?" "Of course," Grandma said proudly. "After a month of running around Europe, staying in all kinds of places with all kinds of people. These little noises don't frighten me anymore. Was it scary in Europe? Christine asked. She had to repeat the question because of Grandma's hearing and Mom's hollering. When she finally got the question, she answered, "Oh, no. I had a few near misses, but that happens anywhere. Actually, I think you should go sometime. You'd like it." Christine smiled and went back to her cards. She had only placed 2 cards down when she heard another noise. Crash. Her head whirled toward the sound. She noticed Mom and Grandma do the same. Mom muted the TV and looked back at them. "You heard that too?" she asked in a hush. Grandma nodded. Mom patted her pockets. "Ugh, must have left my phone in the car," she said. She looked at Grandma. "Where's yours? My cell phone?" asked Grandma. "You know I can't keep track of that thing." Mom looked to Christine. Christine slid her phone out of her pocket and held up the black screen. "Why do you think I'm playing solitaire?" Mom dragged her hands down her face. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," Grandma said. "It's probably nothing. I'll go take a look." "No," Mom said. "You stay here with Christine while I go take a look. Do you still have my old baseball bat by the door?" Grandma rolled her eyes and gestured to it. Mom picked it up and gripped it tight. She tossed on her raincoat and bolted the door. "You two stay here. I'll have a look around the back. Be careful," Christine said. Mom laughed and ruffled her hair. "I will." She kissed Christine on the top of her head and went through the kitchen and out the back door. It was silent as they waited, listening. "The house isn't that big," Christine said, wringing her hands. "How long could it take to look around?" Grandma wrapped Christine up in her arms. "Your mom's just being dramatic, dear," she said. "She'll probably go out and search the whole woods before she's satisfied. What if there's something out there, like a bear, or a vampire, or a maniac with an axe?" Christine cried into Grandma's shoulder. Grandma shook her head. "Christine, where on earth would you get ideas like that?" Christine pushed Grandma away and plopped down onto the couch. "I know it's ridiculous. I'm just worried about Mom." After a pause, she added, "And you know the only thing she loves more than football is true crime. I was practically raised by Keith Morrison." Christine and Grandma looked at each other, confirming to each other that they had both heard it. An unearthly groaning. It sounded close. Christine shot up from the couch. "Something's happened to Mom. I just know it." Grandma grabbed her arm. "Don't be rash, dear." Christine suddenly wished the rest of her family were here. No wild animal or axe murderer would attack such a large party. She wasn't sure if the same could be said for supernatural creatures, but maybe her sisters or brothers or father would know what to do about them. Christine tugged her arm free from Grandma's grip. "I'm going after her. You can come with me if you want." What were we thinking, splitting up like this? That's how they always get you in horror movies. Christine pulled on her raincoat, flipped up the hood, and flung open the door. Lightning cracked. On the porch, a figure was silhouetted against the storm, carrying Mom, unconscious in its arms. Grandma cried out and rushed forward. Rain instantly soaked her to the bone. Christine ran out after her to help. "Wait," the stranger said. It was a man. "Stop! Give me back my daughter!" Grandma shouted. She and Christine kept pulling on his arms, trying to free Mom from his clutches. "Dorothy!" the man cried out. They all paused at the mention of Grandma's name. Finally, the man huffed. "Can we go inside so I can explain?" "Oh, Sean, I'm so embarrassed," Grandma said. They were all back in the living room. Mom was laid out on the couch with a compress on her head. Christine and the man, Sean, were sitting at the dining table. Grandma placed a steaming cup of tea in front of Sean. "I didn't recognize you," Grandma continued. Sean chuckled. "I don't blame you. Anyone would be nervous in this situation." "Excuse me," Christine cut in. "But, who are you? And what happened to Mom?" "Oh," Grandma said. "This is Sean, dear. I met him while I was in England. He saved my life." "She's exaggerating," Sean said. "Not so," said Grandma. "He pulled me out of the way, just as I was about to be hit by a bus." Sean sipped his tea demurely. "I told him he could come by for a visit any time," Grandma said. "I tried to call, but I never got any answer. I remembered she doesn't use her cell phone, so I decided to surprise her," Sean explained with another little chuckle. "Oh, well, thank you for saving her," Christine said. "And Mom? I found her just in front of the porch. She must have slipped off the step and hit her head." Christine sipped at her own tea, feeling silly. She was glad the whole thing was over. Thud. Christine, Grandma, and Sean all looked at each other. They had all heard the noise. Christine looked at Mom. She had rolled off the couch and was groaning as she climbed back up onto it. "Anyone know who won the game?" she asked. "Forever Christmas." "Roscoe, get off. Get off me. Get off, you crazy pup." My mangy mutt wakens me with a slobbery good morning before getting in a round of zoomies. I love him, but I'd also like to murder him. Before I do, though, I should really brush his teeth, I think, as I wipe off the sticky goop on my cheek. "Hey, hun, are you awake?" Lorraine, my wife, pops her head in the door, a festive robe tied around her. "Wait, it's Christmas," covered in dog slobber. "You forget to shut the door?" I chuckle. "Oops." She smiles back, the same one I fell in love with 11 years ago. I'd been a bit cynical about the whole true love thing in my youth. And then Lorraine bashed down all resistance with one glance. "Can you watch the kids for a sec? They're already going crazy, waiting to open presents," she says. "They're not the only ones," I reply. Then, lowering my voice so as not to ruin the magic that is an old man slithering his way down your chimney, I can't wait to see the look on Nick's face when he unwraps the falcon. Lorraine slides over to me and kisses me. "Merry Christmas, baby," she whispers in my ear. It brings an overwhelming sense of comfort, but somewhere in me, I feel an unusual pang of despair. She slaps my butt and tells me to get up. The feeling retreats as I roll out of bed and throw on some loungers, excited to rile up Nick and Lily. I stomp my way downstairs. "Ho! Ho! Ho! Merry Christmas," I say, giving my best Kris Kringle impression. "Daddy!" They both scream out, their mother's smile plastered across their face. "Look under the tree," shouts Nick. "Daddy, Santa ate all our cookies," counters Lily. We'd spent yesterday designing and baking gingerbread cookies for Santa. It is Lily's favorite. Since she was 3, we'd all designed a dozen gingerbread cookies, 5 of which were subsequently judged to be the plate cookies by Lily. She would walk confidently around each tray, carefully inspecting each cookie, letting out a scientific every now and then, before carefully selecting a cookie from each tray. One tray would have 2 cookies selected from it, upon which Lily would congratulate that person as the winner. "Did he, Lil?" I pick her up and place her on my shoulders and skip into the kitchen to check myself. "Well, would you look at that? The man didn't leave a crumb behind." After wrapping all of the gifts, Lorraine and I always share a glass of wine and share the plate cookies. Lorraine, cookie in mouth, glass in hand, walks around to inspect my wrapping, criticizing my bungled tape job. "Well, we'll just tell the kids that Santa had the elves in the training work on these ones," she teases. "Oh, come on. I've gotten so much better. Look at that one in the center. It's pristine," I say. "Honey, that one is mine." She kisses me on the cheek and curls up on the corner of the couch with me after snagging the last cookie from the tray. "I was gonna have that," I say. "Cookies are for those who can wrap. Sorry." "You better give me that cookie right now," I say. Lorraine gives me a side eye before taking another bite. I wrap my arm over her shoulder and try to grab it out of her mouth, but she dodges me and scooches her way to the other end of the couch. "Don't you take one more bite." She moves it slowly toward her mouth, opening wide. I grab her ankle and pull her toward me. Lorraine erupts with a giggle, still managing to hold the cookie out of my reach. I grab her arm and crawl toward her until I can pin her arm down and lean over to take a bite of the cookie while it's still in her hand. Thank you, babe." I lean down and take another bite. "Fine, you can have it. Just let me go." I grab it from her and retreat to my side of the couch, making a show of eating the cookie, smacking my lips and swishing it down with a swig of wine. Lorraine kicks at my legs, smirks, finishes her glass of wine, and leans back into me. The house is silent. The kids long asleep. Wind sweeps gently outside as snow continues to fall, as it has throughout the day. Stockings hang above the lit fireplace. Cane-shaped M&Ms, paint sticks, and Hot Wheels cozied up inside, waiting to be spilled across the floor tomorrow before being tossed aside for the next gift. Roscoe huffs in the corner, clearly displeased that we're up past his bedtime. Lorraine and I stay wrapped around each other, enjoying the silence that is so rare during the holiday season, and doze off until we awake sometime in the middle of the night and mosey to bed. The peace and warmth I felt last night feel so much more distant, and I get an urge to hold my wife. Lily is still staring in amazement at the empty plate. Something about it looks off. The red is no longer a merry holiday red, rather a crimson blood that paints Santa's sleigh and dyes his bag of presents. The plate clatters to the floor, Roscoe jumping in fright, bumping into Lily and knocking her to the floor. Lily starts to cry out as Lorraine pops into the kitchen behind me. "Hey, sweetie, did Daddy drop the cookie platter?" she says, sweeping Lily up in her arms. "Are you okay?" she asks me. I realize I've been standing frozen, my mind empty, frigid. I shake it off. "Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Lil. I didn't mean to scare you," I say, planting a kiss on her and then Lorraine. "Why don't we open presents?" I say. That elicits a roar from Nick in the other room, and Lily surges back, wiping her tears away. "Now, before we open presents, you all know the drill." I set up the tripod, and we all huddle in front of the tree, the kids wrangling in Roscoe. "We crushed it again, gang," I cheer, the stored image coming through my live eye, projecting the family photo through my retina. I quickly flick through the Christmas album, looking at the years past. 2 years ago, poor Roscoe was stuck with a cone on his head. 5 years ago was Lily's first Christmas. 7 was Nick's. 11 years ago was our first Christmas married in this house, before we adopted Roscoe later that year. Scrolling through now, the same wish every father has hits me. Please don't grow up. The thought causes a pain to ripple through me, erupting in a powerful headache. "David, are you okay?" my wife asks. I click out of the Live Eye screen, turn and face my family, but they're blurry. Hazy may be a more appropriate word for it, like a memory faded over time. I reset the device and close my eyes. My heart is pumping. My head aches. Something about this moment feels off. A thought beats at the back of my head, but like a weighted box, it refuses to rise to the surface. By the revulsion coursing through my body, I'm not sure I want to know what's inside. The device resets, and I open my eyes. I exhale. The beating in my head subsides. Lorraine wraps her arm around me, no longer in a haze. Sorry, I just got the worst migraine. Things went blurry for a second, I admit. There's some aspirin in the kitchen. I'll get you some, she says. No, it's okay. It's gone. My live-eye may have glitched. I grab her arm and pull her back in toward me. Okay, what are we waiting for? Let's open these presents. The day flashes by in a flurry of ripped-up shreds of candy cane and elf-decorated wrapping paper, cut plastic ties that restrain action figures in their boxes, and chocolate-greased candy wrappers as the kids fuel their excitement with sugar trips. Lorraine works at preparing a late Christmas lunch, Roscoe providing assistance, mopping up the floor. I spend the morning putting together race car tracks, helping Lily begin her Lego dollhouse foundation, and clearing the mess of my Critized wrappings that inevitably cover the floor in pieces. Dad, I want to fly the drone, says Nick. The highlight of my morning was watching Nick unwrap the gift he'd been talking about all year, a Falcon 1 safety drone. It was a beginner drone with limited flight range and capabilities, designed to spark kids' interest in flying and racing. Parental controls enabled limitations on range, so we could limit flying to just our backyard and at a relative minimum altitude. I already planned on breaking those rules, but for his mother's sake, they provided assurance that he wouldn't crash into the neighbor's window. Fair. I know, buddy, but it's missing a part. We'll have to go to the store. I help Lorraine set the dining room table, my stomach growling at the aromas drifting in from the kitchen. I can't help but feel like I haven't smelled a home-cooked meal in some time, and I almost get emotional when Lorraine sets the ham down in the center. This isn't my life. This life is filled with love and hope, like the Hallmark holiday movie that plays in the background. Something rattles internally. The box, weighted down, chains jangling, screaming to break free. I swear I hear whispers, someone calling my name, penciling. I can take you tomorrow. I need to pick up your sister's glasses, but we have to go early. David, you're still good to meet with the guy coming to take a look at the leak tomorrow, right? Asks Lorraine. Sorry, I ask, startled back into the moment. The leak. You can stay here while I take the kids tomorrow morning. We need to get it fixed before Aunt Janie comes to visit. Oh, yes, sorry. I'll be here, don't worry, I say. She gives me a look of concern, and I get a feeling again, like this moment is almost right, but not quite. As if someone shoved a couple of pieces of a different puzzle into this one, so that from a distance, it looks correct. But up close, it's clear the image is tainted. I down a couple of glasses of wine as we dig into the feast, which seems to ease the lingering tension inside me. The rest of the day is spent in a shower of giggles and roarous cries, spending the night ramping Hot Wheels with Nick and drawing pictures with Lily. We cap off the night with a board game frenzy. Nick wins twice at Candyland. Lorraine and Lily team up to take Nick and I down at Shrabble Jr., and I win. Sorry. I feel as if I've won an Olympic medal when my final piece lands home. There's a crack in the board across the word, imitating my own feelings. Looking at it causes the box to rattle more violently, and I'm relieved when Lorraine tells the kids it's bedtime. I stay downstairs while Lorraine gets the kids into bed. Christmas Stories for Kids lays on the coffee table. The night was supposed to end with me reading it to the kids before slowly backing out of the room, exhausted from the day, but overwhelmed with the sense of comfort and security only family can provide. It ended with me crawling into bed with Lorraine, already sound asleep. It ended with a sorry board in pristine condition, a puzzle appropriately assembled. Tonight, however, it ends with me falling asleep on the couch. Roscoe, get off. Get off me. Get off, you crazy pup. Roscoe's covered me in droll again. I must have made my way up to bed in a sleepy stupor last night. Hey, hun, are you awake? I glimpse Lorraine's festive robe. It's Christmas. A crippling pain erupts in the center of my head. Whatever weighted down my box shakes free with the eruption, and it begins to rise to the surface. I'm scared of what's inside. It remains closed, the pain increasing as it continues to rise. Whatever's inside is shaking, begging to escape. It knows that this reality is wrong, tainted. The rogue puzzle pieces pop out, disgusted in their attempt to disguise what is real. The box shakes with such violence now that I swear it jostles my own body. David, can you hear me? Let's get a... The voice trails off, but the hand attached to it touches my arm, and it's only then I realize it is my body shaking. I'm trapped between two realities, but my mind refuses to accept either. The box is almost to the surface, and it's now I realize it contains death. I plead for it to remain unopened. I feel a pinch in my arm, a physical pain barely perceptible in the mental torture about to be unlocked. Then a warmth starts to spread, outward from the pinch, up my arm, and through my chest. It makes it to my head just in time to weigh the box back down once more. I'm trapped in limbo. One direction tortures me with what was. Another tortures me with what is. Time passes. Voices fade in and out. Appreciate you accommodating us on short notice and during the holiday. Yes, well, it's been disturbing how many cases are turning up. Anything we can do to help you combat it, we're happy to help. This is him? Yes, David Groggins, age 43. Police found him unconscious in Reynoldsville, 3 weeks ago. Medical tested him then. He consumed it? Yes. Tripodiazolethol was found in his system. Heard they're calling it glitch on the streets. Is that right? Glitch. Bug. Defect. Crash. It seems to only have found its way into methamphetamines at the moment, and we hope to keep it contained. Easier to track one drug supply over many. I read his file. History of drug abuse ever since his family died in a car crash. Day after Christmas, no less. Well, if your reports are accurate, it certainly helps us understand this drug's intent a bit more. Yes, additional testing is needed, but we're 90% sure he's been reliving the day before the crash. Christmas Day, 4 years ago tomorrow. We are not quite sure how it works. The drug causes a malfunction in the Levi system, essentially trapping a person in a continuous memory loop. We suspect it may attach itself to particularly powerful memories, like in this case, though we cannot confirm at this time. We were able to perform an autopsy on one victim a week ago. Damage to the hippocampus and frontal lobe were observed. Preliminary reports suggest those affected might know they're trapped in a memory, that they may experience what may be described as glitches throughout the memory itself. For this man's sake, I hope he doesn't know. Tomorrow's Christmas. Let him have Christmas with his family again.